In this video, I'll be taking you through the exact system that took me from one of the lowest performing BDRs in my cohort to the #1 rep in a group of over 100 people. And most SDRs think success comes down to working harder, making more calls, more emails, more activity. But the top performing reps understand that it's not just about working harder. They follow a very specific operating system for their day. They know exactly when to prospect, when to call, when to prep, and how to structure their outreach. So in this video, I'll be breaking down the full system step by step, and it starts here with your daily schedule. And the key idea here is blocking your prospecting times. So you want a schedule you aim to follow most days. It doesn't have to be perfect. Some days will get messy. It never goes according to plan. But if you stick to it 80 to 90% of the time, you can absolutely smoke your quota. So the structure I like picking is 2 persona groups at the start of the week. For example, it could be IT leadership titles in retail as one group, security leaders in financial services as group B. And then you run what I call an A-B cadence. So Monday morning, you email group A and your call blocks focus on group B. And then you flip it. So the next day, email group B and call group A. So you just alternate like that throughout the week and even into the next week where you can run multiple A-B cadences. And personally, I like to start with email in the morning to warm up. You don't have to. And then run 2 dedicated call blocks. But just know that your most valuable prospecting windows are usually between 8 and 9 a.m. and 4 to 5 p.m. because people generally aren't in meetings. So you want to maximize those times as much as possible. And there are definitely ways to optimize this further, but this is a very solid, strong foundational starting point for new SDRs, and it will help you get into a rhythm where you wake up every day knowing exactly what you should be working on. But the next piece of this is building your prospecting system. Like, how do you get to the point where you can actually implement that schedule? One mistake I see a lot of SDRs make is they show up every day and they try and figure out, who do I need to prospect that day? They're looking at LinkedIn, they're pulling lists, they're writing emails, trying to call all at the same time. And that creates a lot of friction and it slows you down. So what top reps do is something that I call coil the spring. They spend the time up front defining their ideal accounts, their buying triggers, things like department, title, industry, geography, and then they build targeted lists around those segments so everyone on that list matches certain triggers. Once those lists are built, they also create the cold call scripts and the email templates in advance that match each list. So now when it's time to prospect, you're not figuring out things on the fly. You already know who you're calling, what you're saying, why it matters to them. And I almost compare it to meal prep for sales reps, the same way you might meal prep for the whole week so you can just focus on execution and not overthinking it. Same concept here. You do the thinking ahead of time so that when the execution times come, you can just move fast. And to do this well, you need a couple core capabilities in your tech stack, mainly a good B2B contact database, the ability to filter and build lists by things like job title, industry, company. Tools like Apollo, Lucia, LinkedIn Sales Nav, Zoom Info, some examples make this pretty easy. And once this system's set up, prospecting becomes way more consistent and a lot less manually draining. So now what I want to talk about here is what I call the sales balance scale and balancing speed versus perfection. This is a big debate. It's something that completely changed how I approached prospecting. And most SDRs are taught to sit on the perfection side of this scale. It's what I see on LinkedIn and sales enablement teaching. Do deep research, heavily personalize every email and call, spend a ton of time on each account. The idea is lower volume but higher quality. But my point is, what manager or sales leader is going to get in trouble for saying that? And they're not the ones who've been given a aggressive meeting KPI like booking 15 or 20 meetings per month. So their incentives aren't always aligned with yours. And the problem is, if your KPI is booking a bunch of meetings, then this approach is usually way too slow. You end up spending 15 minutes researching someone who might not even respond. So top SDRs operate much closer to the speed side of the scale. If they had to choose one or the other, they move quickly, they reach out to more people, they test the messaging faster. But here's the important part. That doesn't mean low quality. The real goal is to build systems and templates that allow you to move fast while still sounding targeted and relevant. So instead of researching every single prospect from scratch, you're using targeted messaging for specific personas or specific industries. That is how you get the best of both worlds, high volume and high quality. There's time for both. And once you figure that out, your output increases dramatically. So let's get right into it. Email prospecting framework. If I had to break it down to get started, you want to use a simple 3-part structure. You need to concisely answer who you are, why you're reaching out to them specifically, and what you're looking to do. Give yourself that shot on net of setting a meeting on the calendar. Replace all passive language with stronger, more assumptive language that implies you're expecting this meeting to be happening, not asking if they'd be interested, open to it, or you'd love to set up a chat. You want to build repeatable templates by persona or industry. You want to follow up every 24 to 48 hours because that's what you would do if you were a real person and you were expecting this meeting to happen. You want short subject lines that perform best, usually 3 to 4 words that are about what the email is about, either your name, their name introduction, your company, their company introduction, or some priority you know is relevant to everyone on that list. And the success formula is quality plus volume plus consistency. So just a quick example, template, if you were selling sales automation and the RevOps persona was who you're reaching out to, saw your team's been scaling outbound across multiple channels, and I wanted to reach out about improving outbound efficiency and visibility across the sales motion. We often support RevOps teams going through similar growth. I'm Connor Murray, the revenue automation team at XYZ. We work with RevOps leaders on outbound automation, sales workflow orchestration, and CRM data hygiene, and typically work with teams to improve pipeline attribution and ensure consistent outbound execution through automated workflows and real-time reporting. I'm looking to set some time for an introduction to understand your priorities and see if there's a fit. Do you have availability the week of September 29th? So you can see in bold what I changed. This is just a generic example, but you know everything that I bolded there is targeted for a RevOps person. So you could have 100 different RevOps personas and job titles that all work at different companies, but be pretty confident that this is going to be a relevant message for all of them. And even further, you can adjust this and make it more targeted by industry or any other trigger that you've identified. And then on the right, I won't read it all again, but this is what I mean by creating and using a structure that's repeatable. Now it's a totally different persona, as if I was selling fleet management software to a fleet manager, but you can see I essentially follow that who, why, what structure. It looks the same, but I just replace what's in parentheses to be more targeted to fleet management now. And this is what you can do for all your top job titles, your industries. You can get this coiled set up so that you can just pick lists A, B, C, whatever, and just get going and implement that daily schedule I was just showing earlier. Now let's break down the cold call value statement framework. It follows very similar principles. So in the first 30 seconds, you want to ideally answer 3 questions. Take control and tell them who you are, why you're calling, and what you want. Don't leave it up to chance. You don't need to play fancy games, pattern interrupts, permission-based openers. Use what's comfortable, but ideally you want to be getting into it as quickly as possible. You use an assumptive formality to control the opening and reduce awkwardness and variance. Keep your tone calm, downward, and confident. When objections come up, acknowledge them and explain why it still makes sense to connect anyway. Sell the time, sell the meeting, and just remember that you're not selling your entire value prop. You're selling a 30-minute meeting on the calendar in key business areas and positioning yourself as a resource to them moving forward. So quick example. Hey, Jim, this is Connor Murray calling from Capital Site. How you doing? Good. Yeah, I'm just reaching out because I'm part of the financial applications team here that works with retail organizations. So anything related to automated forecasting, same-store sales planning, month-end close, things like that. And usually we're working with teams to consolidate data across stores and channels and then automate reporting and manual parts of the close process. So I know that's high level, but I'd be your main point of contact here for any priorities you may have in these areas going forward, whether there's resources you might need, anything like that. And I know I kind of called you out of the blue here too, so I was actually more looking to set some time later this week just to introduce you to my team and get on the same page moving forward. Do you have availability on Thursday or Friday? So who, why, what, there's lots of ways to adjust this. I'll link to a video where I go into many different examples, but for new SDRs trying to get going, this is going to be a lot more comfortable and give you a lot better shot on net than leading off with open-ended questions to a person whose day you just interrupted and has no idea what you're talking about. This makes sure that you set a strong frame and everything that they're responding to after this is around this, not the fact that it's a cold call. The next concept here is reverse engineering your performance. So a lot of SDRs treat results emotionally. If they're having a bad week, they just think they're the problem. But the best reps track simple inputs and conversion rates so they know exactly what's happening. And there's really 3 numbers that matter at a high level: the number of calls you make, your answer rate, like real people who pick up, and then the meeting set rate. And when you track those 3 numbers, you can start to reverse engineer your results. So for example, let's look at the orange box. If your answer rate is around 10% and your meeting set rate is around 10%, you can estimate roughly how many calls it takes to generate 1 meeting per day if that's your goal. So if you're able to improve that set rate to 12% though, which you wouldn't even notice unless you were tracking, it only takes 83 calls per day to get that same outcome. So when you understand the math, prospecting becomes a lot less personal and more like a game or a system that you can win. So you stop guessing and you start asking questions like, how do I increase my volume by structuring my day? Do I need to improve my objection handling, or is it more I need to improve how I'm asking for the meeting? And tracking these inputs gives you actual context for your results, and it makes improving them a lot more straightforward. So instead of just hoping for better outcomes week by week, you can actually engineer them yourself. So next, most SDRs, they subconsciously hope. I know I felt this way. Even though your KPIs are to book meetings, when I made calls, in my head, it was don't pick up, don't pick up, don't pick up, because I had no idea what I was going to do, and I knew rejection was just going to suck when it ultimately came. But top reps flip that mindset. They actually want people to pick up because every conversation is an opportunity to earn money. And so when someone answers, you deliver a value statement, and now you have a non-zero probability of booking that meeting and earning that money. And you can actually reverse engineer the value of a meeting or pretty close to it. So for example, if you have a quota of 15 meetings per month and you need 5 of those to turn into sales qualified leads, which on average, and you can figure this out by talking to internal peers, will get you a $4,000 monthly or quarterly bonus, whatever it is. That means each meeting is worth about $266 if you just do the math and divide 4,000 by 15. Now, every time someone picks up the phone, you're not thinking about rejection. You're thinking about this could be a $266 cold call if I'm able to get them to say yes. And once you look at it that way, prospecting becomes a lot more motivating and a lot more fun. And then the goal becomes simple. How can I get as many relevant people live on the phone as possible and keep improving that probability that each conversation turns into a meeting? And before we wrap up here, last concept, I want to talk about mindset, because this is something almost every SDR struggles with. Just like me when I started, you probably deal with things like imposter syndrome, call reluctance, lack of motivation, feeling like you're bothering prospects, or just being overwhelmed by the volume of work. That's normal. Almost every rep goes through it, but the key is shifting how you frame the job in your head. So first, just remember that you are actually valuable to prospects. If your company solves real problems, you're bringing them information that they may genuinely benefit from. Second, use what I call assumptive alignment. So instead of acting like you're interrupting someone, assume there's a very good chance that what you're reaching out about is actually relevant to them. Third, remember that cold calling is a game of probabilities like we've covered. Not every conversation will turn into a meeting, and that's completely fine, but it is something you can reverse engineer. Fourth, go back to the idea of balancing speed versus perfection. The goal isn't perfect outreach, it is consistent execution. And then finally, understand that this job comes with ebbs and flows. Some days you'll book multiple meetings, some days or weeks nothing lands even though you did nothing differently. What matters though is sticking to the systems in the process over time. And then the last piece here is leveraging the people around you. So the first is your account executives. The best SDR to AE relationships feel like partnerships, not hierarchies. You're working with them and not for them. And a big part of that is earning their trust. You come into your weekly syncs with a clear plan, what accounts you're targeting, what you're seeing in the market, what you need from them. But at the same time, you maintain boundaries, that these are your accounts too. Instead of asking which accounts should I go after, ask which accounts should I avoid. Make sure your AE understands your KPIs and your activity expectations and keep those weekly syncs consistent. The second group of this, though, is your manager and your mentors. So your manager should never have to chase you for basic activity or administrative work. That's table stakes. Handle your responsibilities, show up to your one-on-ones with a clear plan, and then find top performers on your team and ask them for very specific feedback, not just general advice. Show them what you're doing, ask what they'd change, apply their feedback, and follow up with progress to show for it. That is how you turn people into accelerators for your development. So that is the quickest breakdown I can give you to becoming a top performing SDR. If you want more hands-on guidance and you want to work with me personally to implement this into your own workflow, you can check out the link to Cold Call Mastery. I run the weekly live calls in there. You can work with me personally. So hope to see you in there and hope you got value out of this video, and I will see you in the next one.